Hi friends, welcome to A to Z Learning channel. This video is about Unilever Limited's financial results. Today, they publish their latest quarterly results, which is the quarter ending June 30th, 2021. The results were published during the market hours, and particularly there was an impact on their stock price as soon as the results were published. I think the stock closed more than 2% down from the previous close. So let's understand what was there in the results so that you can, in very simple manner, easy to follow manner, understand how the performance has been of the company, what are the kind of risks that are there in the company's performance or the future outlook, so that you can make an informed choice in terms of your investment decisions in the HUL stock. So without any further delay, let's commence our video. As I said, that our attempt here is to make sure that we demystify the complexity of the financial results and the various narrative, various interpretation that are covered by the media organization and the company itself. Our objective is to make sure that we cull out the key highlights so that you can make sense of the information that has come our way as part of these quarterly results, and we simplify what does it mean for the future outlook of the company. So let's first start with the revenue and net profits. So when we compare the year on year performance, means comparing the April to June quarter performance of this year relative to the April to June of 2020 quarter, then clearly revenue and profits both are up. Revenue is up 13%, net profit is up 10%. But if you bring the context of what was happening in the April to June last year, there were a severe nationwide lockdown. Most companies didn't know how to kind of manage their supply chain. Distribution, though the movement of the goods was allowed in principle, but most state government and national government didn't know how to figure out how to ensure that regular supply chain. So business, HUL's business was heavily impacted in the April to June quarter of last year. This year, April to June was also partially impacted by the lockdown. You would remember April and May were the two key months when the number of cases were at all-time high levels, and though there was no national lockdown, but the movement of goods was subject to restrictions that were in place for various state governments, various towns. Though the movement of goods was allowed, but shops were not opening, customers were not going out, there was hardly any mobility even in this quarter for people to go out and buy the products of the companies like HUL. So therefore, though last year was kind of more of an impact, this year was also partially impacted in my view. Therefore, the 13% year-on-year growth and 10% year-on-year growth is a good performance, is a solid performance. When I compare this quarter relative to the last quarter, so basically April to June quarter's performance relative to January to March quarter of 2021, then both revenue and net profits are down for the company. Revenue is down roughly 4.5%, profits are down roughly 5.5%. But hopefully that's not a surprise. January to March was a clean quarter, hardly any restrictions in terms of pandemic. Businesses were operating at their normal levels in most parts. But April to June, as I've already mentioned, was subject to pandemic related restrictions. Number of companies were finding it hard for employees to show up in their offices and do the job that they were supposed to do. And most companies in India took a very sympathetic view towards supporting employees so that they could look after themselves, they could look after their dependents, their family members who were sort of kind of impacted by pandemic in one shape or other. So overall, Quarter-on-quarter performance was expected to be lower in this quarter, and it is actually lower in the range of 4.5 to 5.5% between revenue and net profits. But the good news in these numbers for the company is that both revenue and profits are absolutely in line with what market was expecting. So market knew that the business would be impacted by the pandemic. Market knew about the disruptions that were taking place in the most part of this quarter. Therefore, they had certain expectations from the company's performance, and I can say with surety that the data that I've looked at sort of can confirm that the results are in line with market expectations. So that's a big plus. Other highlights to highlight, clearly we've talked about the pandemic related impact on the mobility of people and therefore their ability to make purchases, buying the product and services of companies like HUL was heavily impacted. The other thing which was kind of again somewhere in the data, but we have culled it out for you, is the rural demand continues to drive FMCG growth for HUL. Urban demand is lower, whereas rural demand is the leading factor for their FMCG growth. The other fact to highlight is the inflationary pressure. Raw material costs continue to go up, and that's impacting HUL's ability to make the margin that they were able to make the margin. So when you look at a margin level, operating margin level, margins are down about 1%. So they're still solid at 24% operating margin, but they are down by almost 100 basis points. So they were originally at 25 and now they are down to 24%. But 24%, I'll take it any day. Digital, which is again a very good kind of systemic change that the business is seeing, is digital is rapidly becoming an important and key part of the HUL's kind of business ecosystem. Now it's contributing almost more than 10% of the total business demand. So digital is basically the app-based capturing of demand is now 10% of the total demand. So it's also slowly but surely picking up and stabilizing. Overall, when we look at the future outlook of the company, management's commentary remains cautiously optimistic. They are optimistic about the demand recovery, but they are cautious. Why they are cautious? Because of the third wave situation, that the uncertainty that could be impacting the businesses of HUL as a result of third wave, if that were to kind of come to fruition, then that's the reason they are very cautious. But if those things don't happen or don't happen to the scale that companies saw in the wave 2 of the pandemic, then they remain optimistic about the demand recovery. So overall, business is set up rightfully. The macroeconomic environment is set up appropriately. It's just that the uncertainty and things that are unknown about the pandemic and its impact on the overall country, nobody can say for sure what will be the likely outcome in couple of months' time. So therefore, the management remains cautious. So overall, from a mid to long term perspective, my looking at the data, my view is that there's absolutely nothing that stands untoward in the results. Everything looks strong, solid, and the outlook for the future is also optimistic from a demand perspective. Therefore, I remain confident that the stock performance also over a mid to long term perspective will bounce back. It will achieve its all-time high level again, or maybe kind of beat those all-time high level again. So there is a potential upside of 5 to 10% in the mid to long term on this particular stock. So I hope this short and precise sharing of the results of the HUL has been helpful to you. We would really look forward to your likes on the video if you've liked the content of this video, or comments if you feel that we're missing something important, or are you liking our content, then let us know through your comments on this video to us. And the last but not least, if you have not subscribed our channel A to Z Learning as yet, please do subscribe channel, become part of our viewers community so that you can also make suggestion in terms of topics that we pick up for our future videos. Thank you so much for watching our video and good luck with your investment decisions.